wondered how stress and performance interact? Well, today I'm going to break it down for you. I'm Dr. Lily Cooper, and today I'm going to talk to you about how stress and performance interact. So stress gets a bit of a bad rep when it comes to performance, but actually it's critical to it. It underpins performance. How? Well, when I was at medical school, I learned all about the autonomic nervous system. We're always somewhere on it between parasympathetic, rest, digest, and sympathetic, fight or flight. But it's actually a little bit more complicated than that because they both exist in safe and unsafe conditions. So when you're feeling relaxed and safe, you might be asleep, of course, or you might be relaxed and alert. And as you increase the hot on the mixer tap, if you like that metaphor, you increase the sympathetic input, you actually get towards the optimum performance state, which is flow. And there was one study, which I've cited there by Chin and Kales, that suggested that this is actually mixed autonomic and 87% sympathetic. So it's really quite wired as a performance state. And I think we can all relate to that. When we're doing something that's pushing us a bit or it's in front of someone we want to impress, we tend to perform better. But when you then fall over and you're too stressed, that's when our performance drops off. So some of us waffle and start to talk when we're stressed. Others might get aggressive and angry. Others might want to run and avoid the situation. And actually, our most ancient stress response, which we share with reptiles and ancient mammals, is to play dead. And that is parasympathetic. So both of them exist in both safe and unsafe conditions. But they're all linked by physical, emotional, and cognitive aspects that supported our stress response in our evolutionary past. Because if you think about it, say 500,000 years ago, pretty much every threat required a physical action, either fighting it, running, or being still. And all of our stress responses optimize those things, depending if they're sympathetic or parasympathetic. So the sympathetic responses optimize our big muscle groups to run or fight. So all our beta adrenergic receptors start to pulse together to really optimize their function. Emotionally, we become anxious or fearful or angry, which means that we are looking for other threats. We have a big energetic expenditure because of those emotional states. And cognitively, we have a negative attentional bias to threat, which supports looking around for threats. And we become very habitual. And that means that we don't mess about thinking about alternative ways of doing things. In this context, we just want to save our lives. The trouble is, in most situations now, whether you're a surgeon or you're doing a presentation or whatever it is, those don't really support our best performance because the physical adrenergic activity can result in tremors or fatigue at the end of a day where you've been really anxious all day. The fear and anxiety and constantly looking for threat can make it really hard to focus on what we're doing. And cognitively, we can struggle to access executive function. So we can blurt out stupid things that we really don't think are the answer, or we can't remember the fact we learnt that morning. So it's really important when it comes to performance to really come to terms with our stress signature and where we are on it. And when we overlay the Yerkes-Dodson curve, which is a really traditional performance versus arousal curve, we can see how our physiological arousal or our sympathetic drive basically supports performance until it's too much and the performance drops off. And I think most of us can really relate to this. So for our optimum performance, we want to stay at the top of our curve. So how do we do it? Well, the first thing is to know where you are. And very few of us have self-awareness around our stressed state. I don't know if anyone else wears a tracker, but often you get to the end of the day and it says, you know, you were really stressed today. And you think, actually, I think I probably was, but I just didn't realise at the time. So you can, by all means, use tech to tell you, but there are also some really key aspects of your own self-awareness you can develop to be your own tracker and know where you are. Because your body is a barometer. A lot of us unlearn the language of our body over time, particularly in jobs where you have to override fatigue or sadness, keep bashing on. It's actually a very, very rich source of information. And don't forget that emotions are sensations too. So we talk about feelings, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling anxious, but we actually feel them in our bodies. So I'd love you to think of a time when you felt really proud. And just remember that time, where you were, what you were doing, who you were with. And now notice in your body where you feel it. It may feel something like this. So the interesting thing about emotional feelings is they're really predictable. And this study was fascinating. It involved different cultures and all of the participants were shown stimuli, auditory, visual, designed to stimulate certain emotions. And they were asked to sketch where they felt them. And they felt them in a very, very uniform way. So your feelings are a really useful source of information about where you're at, but also they're really important to manage because our emotions are designed to drive our behaviours towards things we want and away from things we don't. And if you have a negative emotion around a situation, it's very hard unless you manage it to force yourself back into that situation over time. It can really affect your progress and your motivation. So know where you are and then know where you want to get to, because our body is not only a barometer, but a tool. So by doing that, you get an early warning score. So when you're coming out of your performance state, and also potentially a pressure plan to get you back up there. And in the next talk, I'm going to take you through how to read your body and then how to use it as that tool to get you to where you want to be.